All right, welcome everybody. We are going to get started here shortly. I'm going to give a few minutes for people to join us. I see some people trickling in right now, probably getting their alerts and calendars sorted out. So while we're doing that, if you're here already, you can start asking questions. If you are in the BackerKit Facebook page, or if you are on our YouTube channel, you can just ask a question in the comments and I will see it and be able to respond to it. I'm using a tool. Hello. Hey, Victor. Hey, Daniel. Hey, Ryan. What's up? I'm using a tool that lets me see any comments from YouTube or Facebook. So if you are in our private Facebook group for tabletop gaming, you can watch, but I don't think you can ask me a question through there. So head on over to BackerKit's main page if you're there, if you want to ask a question. But yeah, happy to see some people coming in. Looks like we got a handful. So we'll get started shortly. Before I start answering questions, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of quick info on who I am in BackerKit. My name is Jason Furie. I am the Senior Community Manager here at BackerKit, and I've been here for a little over 4 years now, and I've just been on the front line of crowdfunding for a very long time, conventions and internet events, and just over 10,000 customers. So it's just been a really great insight. And over these years, I've just learned so much about what it takes to run a Kickstarter project or Indiegogo project. So I just want to kind of share that knowledge. And if I can't answer your question, I have a team at BackerKit. Somebody surely can. So we will get connected and get you the answers you need. So for those of you that are maybe a little unfamiliar with what BackerKit is, basically we're a software company that helps crowdfunding creators manage data, make more money, keep their backers happy. We're very focused on creating a really solid experience for the creators, people running these projects, but we also want to create an equally awesome and satisfying experience for the backers, the people that are spending their money on these awesome products. We want to make sure that both are getting a really good experience so that creators come back and make more and backers come back and support more. It's just a really good relationship, creator-backer relationship. What's up, Todd? Happy to have you here. Thanks for commenting. A lot of YouTube activity today. Love it. Not a platform we've used a ton, but I've noticed doing these live streams, a lot of people coming in through YouTube, so that's pretty cool. Also worth noting, BackerKit has services for all stages. So if you are thinking about launching or planning, come to resources like this. We also have something called BackerKit Launch that lets you leverage the email list you're building. We're going to talk about emails pretty much every time we run one of these things because it is at the core of what you should be doing when you are about to crowdfund, or even way before. You could start your email list as early as possible. During your campaign, we do have marketing services, which is basically running ads for your campaign. You do have to qualify for it. Not everybody gets accepted into that, unfortunately. But if we think you're a good fit and we think you can do well with it, we can connect there. And we also have a pledge management software, which is kind of what we started with. And this is something, once you're funded, once you already have reached crowdfunding success, you want to manage all your data, potentially make more money off your backers, get all their information from your backers so you have a smooth checkout experience. They might want to add more to their item, and you send them surveys to get all this information and create a really strong, robust experience for everybody. So those are just kind of like really high-level versions of what we do. You can always head over to backerkit.com and check out more of what we do, because it's a lot more complicated than that. If you understand crowdfunding, we want to help you navigate crowdfunding and learn from all of our customers. We've reached a milestone recently where we've served over 10,000 crowdfunding creators. So, we've definitely learned a lot. Everything we do, everything we build, everything we make at BackerKit is influenced by those creator experiences and those backer experiences. So we try and make sure people don't go down the same paths. And if we learn something from one creator, we want to teach it to the future creators so you can pretty much have a head start when it's your turn to crowdfund. Or if you're running another project, we want you to do it, maybe go bigger or do it more fluid. So all things, oops, realized I wrote BackerKit, should be a B there. Sorry about that. I think you get it. Well, we got some questions rolling in. So to respect everybody's time, I'm going to just start jumping in there. There is no such thing as a wrong question. You could ask me, what is crowdfunding? We'll go there. We'll answer anything. If you want to talk about crowdfunding in general, that's cool. Or if you want to talk about your specific project, that's great. Ultimately, my goal is to help empower you and educate you and give you resources so you feel confident when it comes time to launch your project, and help set your expectations for what to expect for your experience. I want everyone to have a good experience. So in my time at BackerKit, I've learned that expectation is usually what it all comes down to. If you plan and you have good expectations and you understand the ecosystem, you're gonna have a lot better time. You might not make $1 million right away, but maybe that's, maybe there's a few stepping stones you have to go along to get to that point. I wish it was that easy. I wish we could all just make $1 million overnight, but that's really, it's really hard. We'd all be doing that if it was easy. We'd just be done. We wouldn't even be in this live stream. I wouldn't even be here. You'd all just be millionaires. But one day we'll all get there. We got cool ideas. We got cool projects, so we will make it. And then I'm going to throw in a link. This is just something super important. I want to share. This is the only other link I'll probably blast at you because I think it's really cool. What I'm doing is, one of the biggest questions I always get is about marketing and advertising crowdfunding projects, like running Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever. How do I do it? Do I qualify? How much money do I spend? Like, when do I reach out to BackerKit if I want to try and use your service? If I don't, how do I do it myself? So I'm creating a webinar with a lot of people at BackerKit that are experts in this arena. And we're going to just do a really deep dive, solid webinar specifically for this. So I'm going to drop it in the comments section right now. And you can actually RSVP now. I just opened it up this week. And if you want to RSVP to it early, you can go in there and there's a comment section. And I'm in there every day just checking on RSVPs and stuff. So if you want to talk shop in there after this live stream, I'm happy to do that too. We can keep the conversation going. I'll share that again at the end of this live stream so we can stay connected in that way. But please, if you're interested in marketing and advertising, go to that webinar, because I'm actually working on it for like 2-3 weeks with a few key team members, and it's shaping up to be really educational, really interesting. I'm even learning a lot. It's not my strong suit, so I'm going to learn right alongside you when it comes to that. All right, let's start here. So I'll just throw some hellos up there. What's up, Daniel? What's up, Victor? What's up, Ryan? Glad to have you here. Let's see, Victor, does Kickstarter let know donors about your project at any time? Does Kickstarter let know donors about your project at any time? So I think what the question here is, Victor, is, yeah, donors know. Does Kickstarter let donors know about your project at any time? So this is an interesting question. There's no like simple yes or no answer. I will say it is not Kickstarter's job or any platform's job to actually bring donors, or what they call backers, to the project. So whenever I'm giving someone advice on building a community or making your expectations for a crowdfunding project, I always tell people, don't expect the platform to bring you backers. So your whole strategy should not include, oh, this percent is going to come from Kickstarter, or this percent is going to come from Indiegogo. You should just pretend they're going to give you 0 people, because really at the end of the day, it's up to you to bring the audience. They're a platform. They're wonderful platforms. They have all kinds of tools and stuff baked into it that you don't even have to worry about, like the reward tier structures, a lot of the like shipping and taxes, blah, 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 blah. A lot of that stuff is kind of like thought about and considered, so you don't have to worry about all those little details. You can just create your campaign page. Not that it's simple, it's definitely a lot of work, but their expertise is giving you the space to shine and giving you the space to bring your community. That said, there is this like magical like algorithm that everybody talks about, like, oh, if I do X, Y, and Z, won't Kickstarter just start sending me traffic? And that's a partial yes answer. So I got actually confirmation from another live stream I watched from Kickstarter. They had a guest from Kickstarter saying, a Kickstarter employee saying that if you get funded, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get like put in their newsletters or put out into different things. It's more about how many backers you get and what amount of time. So if you get a lot of backers in a short amount of time and you start raising money and you get closer to your funding goal, like it's more about like how quickly that happens. So most successful projects get funded within the first week, even first 1 to 3 days. Those are the projects that typically get highlighted and put in newsletters and put on front page searches and like, trending and stuff like that. So it is in your best interest to have your community and as many people as possible ready to go when you hit that launch button. People should already know about it. People should be expecting it. You should be hyping it up. You should be potentially giving them an incentive to do it quicker. Like when I ran a Kickstarter project, I should have mentioned before, I've run two. They were not huge scale. They were both, my goal was 10K on both of them. And the first one I got about 35K, the second one about 17K. So in the grand scheme of things, they're small, but they're very, very big to me. They're because, you know, it changed my life. It's big. It gets me excited about the ecosystem. But the one thing that was true about both of those, there was people ready for it to happen. So once we hit that launch button, they were like, oh, now's the time. And then they're going to do it. And then as they backed it, it happened, you know, both of them got funded within a week, I think. And then I got a few placements on like a front page and stuff like that, but nothing that drastically changed my experience. It was really all what I brought to the table. So I think that it was definitely the community building before you launch. That's the important part. So I hope that answers your question. So like, it's a little fuzzy. They can bring traffic to you, but don't anticipate it. And it takes, you know, it's kind of mysterious how exactly that will happen. There's no like clear cut, like if you do this, you'll get placed, because it doesn't always work that way. What's your contact information? Can you share it? Of course, happy to share it. I'm Jason at BackerKit.com. You can message me anytime. We can talk shop, or if you have other questions you want to ask me, Jason at BackerKit.com. I am happy to chat with you. Keep in mind, a lot of people email me, but I will try and get back to you as soon as possible. And then we are trying to do live streams more consistently. Might do this again next week, depending on demand, how many people come today. And then obviously the webinar, we do live Q&A sessions at the end of every webinar we do. So if you sign up for that marketing and advertising webinar, we'll have a very similar Q&A. The only difference is it'll be me accompanied by two other BackerKit employees, Alex and Martin, who are experts in both sales and marketing. So I want to have them on board to give you their insight. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, Victor, thank you for these questions. Thank you for joining the live stream. I appreciate you being here. Todd, what's up? Good to see you doing another web stream. Happy to do it. Yeah, trying it out for about a month just to see what happens. We're going fishing, seeing who's out there, who needs help. Always love talking shop with people, no matter what your experience level is or how many projects you've run or haven't run. Like every question is a learning opportunity for me as well, just to see where people are at so I can better assist. So I appreciate you being here. Alrighty, here we go. Daniel Fernandez, welcome. Hi, Jason. What would you say is a good point to launch the campaign? We currently have about 1,000 subscribers on our list, but only 8% have used Kickstarter. Okay, I think you got that analytic by using BackerKit Launch. One of our tools is you can put your email list into BackerKit Launch, and then we will give you a percentage about how many people are familiar with crowdfunding or have used it before. Because something we've noticed working with all these creators over the years is this is going to sound really obvious. It's not how many followers you have, it's how concentrated is the list and how, are they there for your product specifically? Did you get this email through someone else? Did you get it yourself? Like studies, statistics, everything obviously says if you get the email yourself, put them on the list specifically for your brand or your product, of course, it's going to work better than buying a list. You get a lot of people saying, oh, we've got the list for you. It's people that have bought stuff before. You're going to want this. But those are pretty much typically scammy kind of things. So I would be really nervous about that. Now, that's not to say that newsletters aren't good. Like if you get put in a newsletter, that's great. Ads are different. Newsletters are different. I'm talking about people that like are trying to sell you email lists. It's a shortcut. And they know that people that are crowdfunding are very vulnerable. Maybe they didn't do their community building early enough and they're kind of desperate, like, but I know I'm going to launch in 2 weeks, so I need these emails. So they try and prey off that desperation and try and sell you a quick solution. And that rarely ever works. I can't think of a time where somebody was like, so how'd you reach crowdfunding success? It's like, well, I bought that list at the last second. And if I went to bought that list for $200 at the last second, I would have never got funded. I've never heard that in all of my life. So be very, very skeptical when people reach out. To answer your question, I'm assuming you have 1,000 emails because you say subscribers. I hope so. If you have them on Facebook or Instagram, like followers, that's a little bit different, or YouTube subscribers. Still very good to have that, but you're going to want to find creative ways to transition those folks into email subscribers by your landing page, through different incentives, stuff like that. You always want to have a place where you can direct people to sign up for your email. But let's assume, I think you're talking about, you have the emails, only 8% have used Kickstarter. What would you say is a good point to launch the campaign? So my short answer is, I can't give you a special day or time that will work for you better than a different day or time, because it's all dependent on your community and your audience. So it's really, where's your time zone? What's your region? Who's on this list? It's really going to be up to you to kind of get that information. A lot of people that build email lists forget one really key thing is actually interacting with that list. A lot of people collect it, but they don't do anything with it until they want to make some money on Kickstarter or something. I'm not saying this is you, but like, if I build a list for a year, but I don't actually send them anything until it's time to buy something, that's probably not a great experience. This can work for some people depending on what your strategy is and what your team is and what your product is. But if, imagine like there's a neighbor and they're cooking and you only go over there when there's food. It's like, you know, are you just giving them something? Are you just like offering them something or buying? I don't know. That's a horrible analogy. I apologize. But I think my point is, don't just ask people for stuff. Like, interact with them, ask them questions, learn about them, see what they want, get feedback on your project, get feedback on this. So let's assume you have 1,000 emails. I would send them something, even if it's just quarterly or monthly or every other week, and straight up ask them, like, when do you want me to launch this project? When's the best time? Like, come up with your first 3 guesses and give them a poll, like make a fun poll out of it. And then if you have only 8% that you can kind of confirm have used crowdfunding and Kickstarter, and you're a little worried that they might not convert because they're not educated on the platform, you can send that list new to Kickstarter. This is how it works. You can send them some kind of educational, you can keep it really short. You can go to kickstarter.com and they'll totally give you some copy that you can steal, and just teach people, like maybe a few weeks or months before you know you're going to launch, send them some messaging that says, are you new to Kickstarter? This is how it works. Give them just a really easy thing, link them to how to sign up, tell them it's safe and sound, because, you know, this is something that's been around for over a decade and millions of people use it every day. So, you know, I had this issue too. A lot of my list was friends and family, and a lot of people just wanted to support me. They weren't really surfing around Kickstarter. So I did this and I sent them a bunch. I actually didn't do it for my first project, and even my mom and dad didn't back me on my first project. But once I sent that for the second project, I was like, hey, this is how Kickstarter works. It's cool. They actually both backed that time, and some aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff like that. So, you know, educate your audience, interact with your audience, see what they have to, you know, ask them what their preference is. If you're making a game, you can, if you have card art, you can share some early drafts and be like, which one looks cooler? If you have products and you want to, if you're curious about different types of functionality, like, I think I want to add this to my product. Would you guys like that? Like, get people invested in the experience of making a product, not just buying a product. Because a lot of people might want to kind of vicariously live through you. Since you're an entrepreneur, you're creating something cool. If they can clearly say like, oh, I voted on this thing and it actually made it into the Kickstarter, like, they would probably be more incentivized to support you. And they can share it with friends and be like, hey, I helped kind of like conceive some of these ideas. So yeah, 1,000 subscribers is great. Don't be distracted if it says only 8% has used Kickstarter. Like, you know, that could be higher, but it's not wrong. It's just they need more education. So find some creative ways to do that. And I think you'll be okay. That's a good start though. I like that. I like that you're asking this question because it's important. Let's move on here to Ryan's got a question. I'm a cartoonist. I can tell from the picture. Very cool. I hope you drew that. That's awesome. I'm an artist myself. Not typically a very high yielding type of campaign. I'm curious if there's a threshold, amount raised, or number of backers to where it makes sense to use BackerKit. That's a very good question as well. So I'm assuming you're talking about BackerKit's pledge management software, which is once you're funded and you have a community, let's say you just get 100 or a few hundred people, does it make sense to use BackerKit? I will say that we do have a new pricing model that is more of a sliding scale. So our barrier of entry is a lot more friendly. So if you are a small, I hate saying that word because to me, anything funded on Kickstarter is a big deal. But if you are a what we call smaller, for lack of a better term, project, it's going to be up to you. Are you a team of one? Do you have a very small team? Do you really want to just focus on your cartoon or your animation or your comic or whatever you're making? Because a lot of the value isn't just like how much does it cost, it's like the time. And again, this probably sounds obvious, but is it worth your time to figure out a solution, like or just use what Kickstarter's got? Sometimes the time can be wasted and you want to have it like a smooth experience. So I would think about that. Also, if you want to scale, it's a good idea to like have this information synced with BackerKit and give people a chance to like buy more things later. Because when you send your survey, you're getting their key information, like their mailing address and whatnot. And if you charge for shipping later, that's how you can charge for shipping. But it's also an opportunity to make a little bit more money from existing backers. I tell people all the time, if you've run a crowdfunding project, even if you just have a few hundred people, the next X amount of dollars you're going to make are most likely making more money from existing backers instead of making money off brand new backers, because now you have an opportunity where somebody's already said, hey, I'll open up my wallet for you. I like what you got going on. Like maybe they bought your book. But in BackerKit, if you have an enamel pin or a sticker or something else, a bookmark, you can, throughout their survey process using BackerKit, you can be like, hey, we need your shipping information. By the way, do you want any of this stuff? And you can kind of put that in front of them, exit through the gift shop style, and they can potentially make another purchase off of you. And you can offset some shipping costs, offset any errors or unexpected things that come up, or maybe give yourself a little room for profit, because a lot of these projects aren't really running off profit. They're just trying to get something made. So I could talk all day about the different reasons why you should use BackerKit. That's very just like high level. So I would say it's up to you, but in my experience, a couple hundred backers is totally worth using BackerKit for. I used it for a project with 400 both my projects were around 400 backers, and I would say I'm super biased here because I work at BackerKit, but I use BackerKit for both, and it's helped me immensely for both of those projects. Even though I'm sure I could have done it through Kickstarter, but I made X amount more through the survey. I gave my backers a better experience. There's a slight learning curve to like figure out how to get the survey going and all that stuff. But my main focus was the backer experience once I was funded, because you want to maintain your reputation as well. Like you spend 30 days raising money. I don't care how many people, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, you've got a good reputation. By the end of that 30 days, you want to maintain that by having a smooth checkout experience, assuming your product isn't stalled like mine is through manufacturing and shipping due to the state of the world right now. So it is pretty frustrating, but I'm very confident that once surveys go out and once stuff like that happens, that people are having a much better experience as a backer. And that's what you want, because if you're going to do this again, you're going to want them to be like, yeah, that was really smooth. And I think people appreciate it when they do get a survey from BackerKit, because they know what to expect. It's pretty simple. But yeah, it wouldn't, in my opinion, it would never be really about the amount raised. It'd be more about the number of backers and the complexity of your items. Yeah, if you have a decent amount of backers, I think it's worth it. And remember, you can sync with third-party services like EasyShip, ShipStation, stuff like that. But you can also, BackerKit has a lot of DIY, do-it-yourself functionality, like shipping, for example. If you want to, let's say you want to ship out 100 backers their item, you can, in BackerKit, you can use BackerKit postage and sync all of your orders to BackerKit postage. And then you can just kind of get a Dymo printer, just buy one. They're like $100 online. And you can print all your shipping labels with the click of a few buttons. So you could organize all of your batches by like, this person ordered 1 book, this person ordered 2 books, this person ordered a book and a pin. You can segment all of those backers into chop them up into different groups. And you'd be like, I want to print all the shipping labels for people that just got my book. And then you can do that, sync it through BackerKit, get all your shipping labels really quick, and it makes it really smooth for you. I did that with 400 people, and I just, got some pizza, a couple friends, hit a few buttons in BackerKit, and I was able to do my shipping. Actually was not a nightmare at all. It was very streamlined and very simple. So for that reason alone, I would do it. But also the potential to make a little bit more money while that you might be in the mind frame, like, I just want to get my book out of here. I just want to do blah, blah, blah. I don't really want to make more money. I just want to like fulfill this thing. But you'll be surprised. Just make it simple, a bookmark, a pin. You'll be surprised how many people want to support you a little bit more or get a gift for somebody else and add it to their order. So keep that in mind. I hope that answers your question. Thank you for that, Ryan. I'd be curious, feel free to throw your, if you have a website, artist website, or a preview of your campaign page, throw it in the comments. I'd love to check it out. I'm in a pretty connected artist in San Francisco, Bay Area. So I have a lot of art friends, so I'd love to check your stuff out. And we could talk shop about running art projects, because it's not as easy as say, well, nothing's easy, but there's obvious categories like tabletop, hardware, tech that technically can, they just have more projects going out, so they perform a little bit better. But I had a friend that just ran a comic project. He made $100,000. My buddy Skinner, and he had a really cool project. And so it's possible if you got your audience. But he had built his audience. He has a really dedicated fan base. He's been building that audience for years. DB Games, I'm going live in 19 days. Congratulations. That's a big deal. Feel free to link your preview or whatever in the comments here. There's, small, intimate crowd here, so you probably won't get like 1 billion people, but this is a safe place to just drop that link. So go for it. I'd love to check it out. Is there a way to schedule a personal meeting with someone at BackerKit to talk through what might make sense for an upcoming campaign? So we don't do consultation services, unfortunately. I think what you're doing right now with me here is as close as we have to that. But that said, if you want to talk shop, if you want to connect, maybe ask me some key specific questions. If you're not comfortable asking them all here, that's fine. Just send me an email at jason@backerkit.com. Link me stuff that you're comfortable linking, and I'm happy to give you some feedback and we can brainstorm. But it's not like a full consultation or anything like that, but I'm always trying to learn and see what people's different challenges are. So I definitely get something out of it myself. So don't hesitate to reach out to me if you want to do that. But yeah, we don't have any like paid service or anything like that where it's like do that. I would say your best bet is to come to these when you see them, or go to that upcoming webinar, even if it's a webinar that's a little off topic or maybe not specifically for you. We will have Q&A sessions, and the guests always stick around for the Q&A, so you can get a little bit more perspective. And if you did register for the next webinar, you can ask questions ahead of time, so you can kind of look at them and maybe prepare an answer. So keep that in mind. You can do that. Cool. I hope that helps. So yeah, just jason@backerkit.com. Luke Sims, what's up? Hi, Jason. Thanks for your presentation. What inherent risks are there for both artists and backers when it comes to patrons for handmade projects? It's an interesting question. So let me digest for a moment. What inherent risks are there for both artists and backers when it comes to patrons for handmade projects? I'm not sure what you're getting at, so maybe you could clarify that question a little bit. I think what you're getting at is if you're doing, so patrons to me like is people on Patreon. Like I know it's different. I think we're talking about like backers, similar things. But if you're making handmade projects, I'd have to know specifically what you're making to have some context there. I can't think of any like inherent risks other than like shipping snafus and stuff like that. If it's a one-of-a-kind item, it'll be kind of difficult to like replace if anything happens to it. But as far as like running a campaign, I've backed all kinds of things. I mean, so much on Kickstarter is handmade projects from artists, like handmade felt things and different like pieces of art I've seen. And then some tiers have like exclusive hand-drawn things or signatures, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think you might be talking about like copyright, stuff like that. I don't know. I can't give legal advice or anything like that, but maybe you can clarify and follow up. And I'll, as I scroll down here, I can answer your question a little bit more thoroughly. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the risks are. Really, to me, it's just one of those things. this isn't really about Handmade projects specifically. It's just kind of the mindset of running a crowdfunding campaign. I think a lot of people wonder if it's right for me. Should I even run a campaign? Like, if I can sell this on Etsy, or if I can sell this on my own website, should I even run a campaign? So I think a lot of the challenge is just thinking about that stuff and really laying it out. Like, what's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? How is this helping my community? Like, is this what they want? And then just providing space for it. I always say that if you don't get funded, that's a learning experience and it's fine. And oftentimes, if you look at it as more of a learning experience, you can pivot or change your mind or do a different product based on what you've learned. So I always celebrate it when people run a project and don't get funded too, because that's not what I want. I want everybody to get funded. But if you don't, you just got a free college experience, basically. It's like, hey, you want to go to school for free? Run a crowdfunding campaign, because everything you do, everything you learn from running the campaign is just going to influence your next move. So don't be like devastated by it. Anybody listening that's maybe been through that or is worried about that, I know it takes time and energy and passion, but don't look at it as like, oh, Kickstarter's not for me or crowdfunding's not for me. I would just look at it more of like, okay, I just learned a lot. Like, how can I change the way I approach this to make it more fruitful next time? So yeah. So Luke, apologies. I haven't gotten, maybe there aren't any inherent risks other than just putting yourself out there and being a little vulnerable. But for artists and backers, when it comes to patrons for handmade projects, I don't really have any big red flags that I can think of. So if I see you comment later, I will. Oh, let me see. I think you did. Sure, sorry. Like, if I do caricatures of a limited individual. So yeah, I don't think there's any risk there. I would think you, as an artist, as a creator, should just understand what your limits are. So, in Kickstarter, you can say this is a limited tier. I can only do 10 of these or 20 of these. I would always start lower than higher, because you can always add more, but you can't necessarily subtract more. So if you have the bandwidth to do 100 caricatures, limit it to 100. If you have the bandwidth to do 10, limit it to 10. And then if it's just a breakout hit and that reward tier does really well and people like it, then you can always add more. But you want to find that balance between making it exclusive and making it like doable for yourself. So like, I wouldn't recommend doing anything that will distract you from your main product. But if your whole project is caricatures of individuals, I haven't quite seen that. Like an artist Kickstarter for like everything's just a handmade object. That's kind of I'm sure there's examples, but that's an interesting approach, because typically what you see is there's a core product, like say an art book featuring celebrity caricatures or something like that. And then one of the reward tiers would be, do you want a caricature of yourself, or you and your significant other, or you and your dog, cat? It's one animal. I would want a picture of that if I had one of those. So it's usually orbiting this core product, but doing just like a Kickstarter that would be like, I'll draw you something or do a commission. Typically, I don't even know if that would get approved, because it's not technically a product or a thing that would have a prototype attached to it. You kind of have to have that. So I would probably still do something similar, but I would think of a way to have a core product like an art book or a coffee book or something like that can kind of complement that idea. And then if people want caricatures of themselves, they can add that as a separate tier, but they could also get the book. I do know for tabletop, a lot of people do custom cards. So it's like, we'll put you in the game if you back at this $100 tier or something like that. So there are a lot of like opportunities there for people. Let's see. So yeah, thanks for the clarification there. I hope that helps you. I think working towards 400 followers, and I think 1,000 was great. Sorry. Yep. Thanks. That was from a previous thing. So yeah, 400 followers is great too. Like, I launched my first project, don't tell anybody, with 0 emails. I just didn't know what I was doing. It was a nightmare. I often stay up late at night thinking, if I just built an email list before I launched, this could have been way more successful. But when I ran my second project, which got more backers, I definitely did my due diligence and collected them. And I had about, let me say, 700 emails, and my goal was 10K, and it was probably the #1 driving factor. I used my email list with BackerKit launch to drive traffic to my page, and got funded in less than a week. And yeah, so I would not even think about running a project again without having a dedicated email list. And I don't even, I do a lot of stuff on the side, like on my website. Show you if you want to look at context. I do like a movie podcast and movie reviews, and I'm an artist and photographer. So when you go to this website, there's always like an email opt-in. If you want an example, like pop-ups, a page specifically for new newsletters, and then always adding it to the footer of your pages. If you're doing any kind of content, like if you're creating blog posts or if you're sharing stuff, I would always find creative ways to bake in an email opt-in for people. Just always have that available, because maybe I don't run another project for a year, but in between then, I'm always building my email list. You don't just build it when you know you're going to launch something. You should just be building it indefinitely. So if you know you're going to crowdfund, even if it's a year from now, you should start building an email list right now. And it doesn't have to be about the final product. This is what it looks like. This is what it is. It can be about your theme. It can be about your interests. It can be just to follow you as a creative individual or artist or entrepreneur. Just say, I want to keep up with my latest project. Subscribe here. Like you can find creative ways to do it. My point is, never hesitate to start building your email list, no matter what stage you're at, because you will thank yourself later when it comes time to pull your community together. This is the best way to do it. So yeah, keep that in mind. You can screen grab this if you want. Just pulling it up there. RSVP to the crowdfunding webinar coming up. All right, John Thompson here. Oh, lovely family picture there. That's nice. I'm struggling to get my email list. Yes, this is very common. It's very normal. Don't panic, because I feel this all the time. Instead, I'm going to host live events at card shops. Is that a good strategy? I don't want to spend money on ads. All right, so a lot to unpack here. So I'm struggling to get my email list. This is perfect, because if you weren't even thinking about emails, you'd be in a much worse situation. So you acknowledging that you need to build an email list is a great first step. That's the right question. That's the right mind frame. So I wouldn't say stop doing it. I would just say it's okay to just have just chip at it, one person at a time, one person at a time. Now, the second part is, instead, I'm going to host live events at card shops. I would erase the word instead from there and write, I'm going to host live events at card shops and ask for people's emails while I'm doing that. So if you're going to live events, digital events, those are some of the best places to build your email list. And you can find passive ways to do it, or you can find just straight up ways to do it. You could have a sign, you could have a business card, you can have a QR code, you could have a laptop open and ready, or a tablet, have people sign up live. But yeah, if you're going to an event, you should always have part of your strategy be, how am I going to get emails from folks? And don't always think of it as some sneaky thing, like you're just trying to squeeze emails out of people. Use it as a way to connect with your community. Say, hey, I want to connect with you. I want to build community with you. Will you join me? And maybe you have an incentive. Maybe it's first to learn about my Kickstarter, or if you're on my email list and you back me in the first 48 hours, you'll get a pin added to your order, or you'll get a bookmark added to your order. Think of creative ways to keep getting those emails, and to definitely, you gotta kind of put that hat on when you go to events. You should be trying to get that, even if it's if you get 1 or 2 or 3 people from a live event, that is a super concentrated person, somebody you've personally met that's interested in what you're doing. That's the best person to have on your email list. So that's kind of what you want to do. And your last part, I don't want to spend money on ads. Totally get it. That's fine. Not everybody can spend money on ads. So you can totally get funded without spending money on ads if you build your community correctly. But you can't take out the email part and the ad part and expect to get funded. So you have to kind of pivot. So if you know you're not going to spend money on ads, I would just really double down on that community building, create cool content for people, show people your process, go to as many events as you can, live or digital, depending on your comfort level, and just constantly get emails. And success to me is getting one person on your email. If you can get any email, that's a success. You don't need to be getting 100 at a time, 200 at a time. It might be 1 a week or 2 a week or 0 some weeks. That's all perfectly normal, perfectly fine. The key is that you keep trying it, and if something doesn't work consistently, you pivot and adjust and say, okay, this obviously isn't working. What can I do? Reach out to other people. Like, do you subscribe to emails? Why did you subscribe to it? Think about it. Like, think about why you do stuff. Because, ultimately backers are just people like you and I. We're just out there just trying to be convinced to buy stuff all the time. So, like, why should I should be what you ask people. Like, you put yourself in the backer position as much as possible. Like, why should I sign up for this? So if it's just sign up for this, even though you don't know me and I'm not really going to tell you why you should sign up for this, of course people aren't going to sign up for it. But if you have a little incentive or a little bit of character, a little bit of personality into it, like maybe some images or sneak peeks or a pull behind the curtains so people can kind of see the process, those are all things that would get people incentivized to join your list. But don't be like saddened if it's going slow. I have all the best practices in my email list is still under, it's like barely 1,000. I think maybe it's even like just under 1,000 recently. So it's not huge, but it's concentrated. It's very like specific, and it took me years to get that too. And I know all these like tips and tricks and stuff, and it's still very challenging. The key is just consistency. Just keep doing it. Don't ever stop. Like, it's okay to have slow weeks or slow months. It's perfectly normal. But keep trying. And if things really aren't working to the point where you're kind of losing morale, just give yourself a day or give yourself a few hours to think about ways you can do it better. And I think you'll have a much better experience. But I like the hosting live events at card shops because, like, I'm assuming you're going to be selling a card game or cards of some sort. So if that's where your community is, if that's where you like to go as part of this community, then I would think of that. Think of things you could leave at the card shop. Maybe you have a business card with a QR code to sign up for your email, and you can ask the shop owner, can I keep the card up front? And maybe that can get you 1 or 2 here and there from time to time. Just think of creative ways to do that. Yeah. All right. Speaking of pins, Mark Lewis Powell. Hi, Jason. Thanks for your advice on the pins. They are a great company. Oh, yeah. You asked for a pin shop connection last week. Hooked it up. I'm glad you're having a good experience. I would not recommend it if I didn't have a good experience. So thanks, Mark. Awesome job. And congrats again. Mark has run I think you still have a project on Kickstarter. Feel free to link that if you haven't already, so people can see successfully funded, I think almost a few weeks ago. So good job. All right. Todd, so you usually say Kickstarter in all your examples and also use tabletop games a lot too. If we are filmmakers and if we prefer Indiegogo, all BackerKit benefits are still suitable for us, right? Great question. Apologize. I'm a selfish entrepreneur. I made a tabletop game on Kickstarter, so I'm probably bleeding my experience a little bit. Yes, all this stuff I'm talking about works for both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So yeah, thanks for the clarification, Todd. We do work with both platforms. So if I do say that a lot, keep calling me out because I should just say crowdfunding in general, but sometimes that could be like, well, are we talking about GoFundMe now? Or some people think Patreon's out, even though it's a membership service. So yeah, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. Tabletop's just a jamming party on Kickstarter right now, but film is actually very intriguing to me. I've backed maybe 7 or 8 film projects on Kickstarter. And Indiegogo, if you think your audience will go there, and if that's a platform you'd rather use, totally get it. That's fine. For film, I can't recommend Kickstarter or Indiegogo over the other. I think they're probably equally suitable for that. If it's tabletop, I always say Kickstarter because that's where the party's at. Hardware tech is probably leans a little bit more Indiegogo, but I see huge success on Kickstarter as well. So it's kind of 50-50. But yeah. So yeah, link us something if you have, Todd. I would love to learn about your film project. I actually just spoke with the creator. We set up a call last week based after one of these live streams. Just wanted to talk about film on Kickstarter because I'm still learning. I see some success. It's not like billion-dollar projects or anything, but I'm curious if wonder if you're making like a short film, a feature film, or maybe just like what do you call it? Like a proof of concept film. I've backed a few proof of concept films, which I think is a really interesting concept for first time crowdfunders. Is if you have an idea for a film that may take a ton of money to make, like if you need like tens of thousands of dollars to make your film, but you're not confident you have the community yet, you can do a smaller campaign to help build your audience. And the funds are to raise enough money to make a proof of concept film. So maybe just 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes of what people can expect. And then you can run a follow-up campaign later for the feature or the short film. So I don't know. I'd be curious to learn more about your experience approaching a film project. And these people were going to do it on Kickstarter, but I didn't get a definite reason why, other than they had previous experience in a different category on Kickstarter. But yeah, probably should have just answered your question and say, yep, but that's both. Yeah, BackerKit will work for both. Thanks for that clarification, Todd. I'm confident with Facebook ads and I'm getting a good return on investment. In your experience, does an ad video get better results? Depends on what you've got and what you're showing and what the video is, obviously, but I will say most of my experience running ads, I'm actually not on the ads team at BackerKit, so my experience isn't selling like products for it, but I do like some ads for like BackerKit itself, and I have been discovering that small video clips do work the best for getting people intrigued, and it doesn't always have to be like what I'm doing now, like video. It could be just like lightly animated. I know if you have a platform like Canva, you can make like little animated GIFs and stuff like that. So you can run ads with like an animated GIF or really make it like a short MP3 or something like that. I do think when it comes to Facebook ads, it's all about experimentation, not necessarily have it like there's no, to me, this might be bad advice, so like take it with a grain of salt. But to me, when you're running ads, let's say for the first time or you're new at it and you don't have any data to like inform your decision based on what you're doing, it's all about variety, not necessarily about like what you think is quality. Like you create 10 ad sets so you can get like 8 images and 2 videos, and then you kind of run your test on those, and then you have to quickly learn like what works the best, and then you squeeze out all the stuff that didn't perform well, and then you double down on the stuff that did work well. So I'm glad to hear you're getting a good investment, but I will say that at the very least, you should experiment with it. So if you've only run static image ads or ads directly to links or ads to just get an email or whatever, I would try and experiment with a few ads that have some moving parts to them, like a little GIF or a video. Just next time you do an ad set, throw in 2. Just throw in a video and a GIF and see if they perform well. Because really, the answer to this question, you're going to have to tell me, because you're running it for your project with your specific art assets, with your specific brand. So yeah, my advice would be experiment with it and try it out. I think your gut here is correct. I think you want to try it. Yeah, I'll go for it. I am being quoted 200, 400 for companies, UKGE, Board Game Magazine, to feature me in their newsletter. But I know that 400 in Facebook ads would get me a lot of pledges, which is better. Well, there's no better or worse in this case. I do know a lot of people are strapped and they might not have budget for this kind of stuff. So when in doubt, I usually say your best marketing dollars are spent on either pre-live ads before you launch to get email addresses, or straight to your campaign ads to get conversions. So when you're going to UKGE or Board Game Magazine, you have to consider the branding and exposure of it compared to a Facebook ad. Like, is there a benefit that might not be monetary to you? Like, if you get put in a magazine, do you think that might like help you, or do you think not enough people would look at it? Like, how could you tell if it works or not? I don't 100% have the answer there, but I would consider probably, if I were to spend $200 to $400, I'm assuming, I don't know if that's USD or what, I would heavily think about like how it's different. If your main goal is to just get conversions on your live campaign, which is ending pretty soon, I'll probably just stick with the Facebook ads. But again, that's just kind of like 2-cent advice. It might be tempting to go in these other spots. I don't think you'd be missing out on a ton. You're not going to miss out on a lot, because like by the time that gets out there and in those things, your campaign may be over. It might be like the window might be too tight for you. But as a brand and as someone that might want to do another game or a deluxe version of this game down the line, I would still keep those contacts and consider it as far as like branding and building awareness to your thing. And, you know, having a legitimate like place to put yourself is never bad. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm wondering, are you reaching out to them? Are they reaching out to you? I'm curious how that reach out always works too. What happens immediately after a successful campaign? Will Kickstarter automatically try to make me use their pledge manager? Immediately, party starts. Your doors burst open, your windows explode, and confetti. It's like the end of that movie Labyrinth. All the Muppets just come in and start partying. That's what happens. Joking aside, so your project's gonna get funded. I would immediately make an update in Kickstarter, thanking your community, thanking your backers, telling them what to expect moving forward. You're not going to get your money from Kickstarter for about 2 weeks because they have to have time to like process cards. Some cards won't go through the first time and they have to try again. So Kickstarter will typically give you a 2-week window to get all of that sorted out. And there will be a handful of people that their cards don't work. You might not get the exact number it says on Kickstarter. It could be lower. I will say one of the benefits of using BackerKit, which I know you've already signed up, is that if you do have those people that after 2 weeks, Kickstarter still couldn't get money off of them, you can message them through BackerKit and you can maintain their pledge level so they won't miss out. And you can reach out to them and be like, hey, like your order didn't get completed on Kickstarter, you can collect those funds in BackerKit. I actually had that happen on my first campaign. I had a really high tier. It was like $500, and I had someone back on that. I was really excited. And then their card didn't work. And I was like, oh my God, someone's just punking me. This is horrible. But I was able to claim those funds through BackerKit. Reached out, and the dude was just on vacation. He's like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And then he paid through BackerKit. So it was great. So I made my money immediately back on the investment there. But yeah, they're not going to automatically make you use their pledge manager, but it is the flow. Like when you are funded, there is an option for you to use their I wouldn't even call it I mean, I guess technically it's a pledge manager. It's pretty much just a simple survey that you would send out and get that final address information. But in the back end of Kickstarter, they have like, is this person fulfilled? And there's like checkboxes, and there's like kind of simple ways for you to like kind of organize and be like, this person got their thing, but you have to kind of manually go through it and do it. But yeah, you don't have to do anything if you get those messages to do pledge manager and stuff like that. You just I would just do an update informing your backers of, you know, we're going to be sending you a BackerKit survey in X amount of days or weeks or months or whatever you decide. And just set the expectations for your backers. But yeah, they're not going to force you to do anything. They understand like this is how it works. People use different pledge management systems. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I mean, I think they're going to try. They're not going to make you do anything, but they're going to encourage you to do it. But you don't have to do that. Do you have any video guides on YouTube for creators who want to use BackerKit Pledge Manager, a step-by-step walkthrough type thing? Yeah, once you use BackerKit, you do get access to our help docs, which a lot of them have videos attached to them. So if you want to get walked through like segments or something like that, or a specific way, because there is a slight learning curve. It's a new tool, we get it. Not everybody, it's not something you would use outside of Kickstarter. It's not like something that everybody's like, oh yeah, I've done this before. It's new territory. Yeah, feel free to email me, just Jason at BackerKit, and if you haven't been pointed to that resource yet, I can link it to you. I think it's just not like super public until people sign up for BackerKit. So send me a line and I will forward that to you. But yeah, it should be in your like onboarding emails and stuff like that. Just our help docs. Daniel, can you tell us about BackerKit's marketing service? I sure can. I'm going to say with a caveat. Number one caveat is this is not my strong suit. So we are crafting our webinar soon. It's on September 30th. I'm going to put in the comments again. I'm probably going to put this in the comments like 17 times because I really want people to watch this. But yeah, so BackerKit Marketing is a service. It is a paid advertisement service that we use, and you have to get qualified for it. So you would sign up through BackerKit.com, and you would see if you qualify. If you don't qualify, because we can't just say yes to everybody, because the solution is never we'll just run ads and then you'll get funded. Like if that's your plan, if that's your strategy, like just counting on ads to fund your project, you're probably going about things in the wrong way. Just to be like real, really ads marketing, our marketing service works best for people that have already kind of done the fundamental, like 101 community building, validation of their product. They probably, are pretty confident they're going to get funded. We get friction with people that didn't do X, Y, and Z before they launched, and they're kind of like scrambling for ideas and like, oh, I need to get funded. I'm like 25% of the way there. We can't just come in and like rescue every project. I wish we could just do that and then just get everybody funded left and right. But I would think of it more as adding fuel to an existing fire. So if you can get your product out there and you can line it up and you can get people excited, and you can validate that for BackerKit, we can be like, yes, like this is great. You've done what you need to do. Now we can help get it in front of new eyes based off these learnings and stuff like that. So I'm gonna not get into the very nitty gritty of like exactly what you do to like, because I don't want to say anything wrong. I want to reserve that because I'm still learning for our webinar on the 30th. So I guarantee you all of your questions will be answered. Part of my process is I'll give you a sneak peek. What basically the structure of this webinar is going to be like, what is marketing versus advertising? What is specifically performance marketing? And how does this all relate to crowdfunding? Like, why would someone spend more or less on ads or money at all or not at all? So we're going to kind of go over a 101 overview of that kind of stuff, and also on ROAS, which is return on ad spend, which is how much money you put in, how much do you get back? So if I put in $1, do I get $2 back, $3 back, $4 back? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4x, whatever. We're going to talk about how that works. And if you see someone say, "Oh, we spent $20,000 on ads," it's probably because they probably got a lot out of it. They probably got a lot more than that out of it, at least 1 or 2x. We're going to talk about expectation setting, and then we're going to talk about like what it's like for a creator to go through the process. So if you apply and you don't get accepted, what do you do? How do you DIY it? If you apply and you do get accepted, what does that journey look like? What can you expect? What will BackerKit do with you in parallel with you during your campaign? And so we can kind of like pull the curtain on that experience a little bit so you know what to expect. And then lastly, it's just going to be very specific, very specifically talking about how you should approach a campaign and like what you need to do, how you need to build your community and stuff like that. Let's like assuming you wouldn't use ads, because a lot of times people see it as an alternative for community building, and that's just not how it works. There are exceptions to the rule. If somebody throws a ton of money maybe at ads, they can get funded without any community building and just zero whatever. But I would never recommend that. That's not a good experience for everybody. You don't want your community just to be a bunch of people that found you on Facebook ads and that's it. You want to kind of have a mix of it all. I'm not saying it's a bad person to have in your community, but I think there's all kinds of roads to get there. So sorry, I can't like specifically get into it, but pretty much is we run ads, we have audiences. I think we have unparalleled audiences when it comes to crowdfunding. So when you're talking about ads and other companies are trying to like reach out to you, blah, 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 I will say it all depends on the audience and the history of that company. And I will say with confidence that BackerKit has arguably one of the best histories within crowdfunding outside of Kickstarter, Indiegogo, for audience building. Like we're constantly, we've worked with over 10,000 creators. Think about how many backers that is. Like we have audiences that are built around all of those experiences. So we can really give you the results that you're probably looking for compared to other companies that might not have that experience. They might not have been around as long. They might not have they might not have all of that behind them. So I will say when I started at BackerKit, we didn't even have a marketing service. It didn't even exist, and I watched it unfold like before my eyes across like the guy that kind of started it sat like right in front of me. So I would just every day just kind of hear more about it and learn more about it. And it just kind of blew up into this awesome thing that's helping people. So I will say I have a lot of confidence in BackerKit marketing. So tune into that webinar and learn more about it from the experts that we've hired to like specifically run the ads and specifically sell the ads to people. So I'm really looking forward to that because I'm going to learn right beside you. Boom, boom, boom. Thanks for the offer to include a link to my website. You're welcome. I will, when I see it, I will blow it up there. takethetown.com going live in 2 weeks. Chaotic new card game. I'll be the judge of it's chaotic. Maybe that's calming to me. I'm just joking. Screen grab this, y'all, if you want to see it. I'm going to screen grab it so I can check it out. Thanks for sharing, John. There it goes. I don't know if you can hear my snapshot or not. Thanks, too, for answering our questions on this webinar. Very helpful. You're welcome, Ryan. This is very experimental. I'm not sure how long we're going to do this or how many weeks I'm going to do this, but I'm happy to try it. It's been pretty fruitful. We already answered that one. Kaiju Tempest. I think I've seen you on one of these before because I love that name. What are the requirements to be able to get onto the BackerKit newsletter for the first time? So right now, to be in our newsletter, you need to also be approved for our marketing services. So there is a barrier to entry, unfortunately. We can't just slap people in our newsletter. I would love to put everybody in our newsletter, but it is considered part of our marketing service. As you know, we've worked with, there's so many people on Kickstarter and Indiegogo that, as you can imagine, it's very competitive. There's a lot of people wanting to be on our newsletter. And yeah, so you have to be in agreement with us, like in contract for our marketing services to get in. Part of that deal includes placement in our newsletter. So yeah, hope that answers the question. Oh, that's my website. All right. How much does it cost to be in your newsletter? So thank you, Mateo. Thanks for joining us. So again, it's all dependent on getting approved for our marketing services. So I can't, we don't have a flat rate to get into our newsletter, unfortunately. So I hope, I know that's not a great answer. If that was a separate service, I would, that would be interesting. I think we did that years ago, maybe. But yeah, it's so competitive right now that you need to be an onboarded customer to get into that newsletter. So yeah. Let's see. Do you have a specific to-do for transitioning subs to emails? Yes, landing page, GIFs, etc. But do you have a webinar specifically for that? We have 86K YouTube subs, but who are they? I don't know. This would be an awesome topic for a webinar. I agree. I do not have one. I do have a how to build your email list and stuff like that. And a lot of it is like more the high level, like, yeah, like what you're saying, landing pages, incentives, stuff like that. But yeah, it's gonna be dependent on the community. It's gonna be dependent on how you interact with that community. There's so many ways you can do it. There's like super in your face ways. There's passive ways to do it. But yeah, I don't. So I think that might be a good thing to research, is like, who do I know has done this? Because we have customers that have had pretty big YouTube channels or Discord channels that weren't emails. And they're always like, why didn't they back my project? I put the message, in Discord, or I did a video for YouTube. It doesn't always convert because email is king. So you're going to have to find creative ways to provide for your community. So on YouTube, like creating videos that have that, in the description, you have an embed code to your landing page. The video might have something specific to do it. I usually stray away from like raffles and stuff like that. Like that can work, but I wouldn't like rely on that, because then you're just getting like people on your newsletter for the wrong reason. Like I wouldn't really always hinge it on some kind of gift. Incentive, if you do a gift or incentive, to me, it should always have a lot to do with your crowdfunding project. I'll give you an example for if you're doing a board game that's like a miniatures based board game, make your incentive a unique miniature that you will only get, that the only way you can get value out of the miniature is to also buy the game. So like once you buy the game, you can use this thing, or even just a token or a character piece, something that's not, that you don't have to use, but you could use it. Something that should heighten your experience, but not be required. And then getting into different categories, film and art and stuff like that, you can think of a bookmark for my book, or a charm for this design product or something like that. So I don't know. So yeah, unfortunately, no, I don't have a webinar specifically for how to transition followers into subscribers, but that's an excellent idea. I will take note of that, share it with the team, Todd, because I think it's a good idea. I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I do know off the top of my head a few people. I'm thinking of a project. I'll have to reach out to this creator that he did like a songwriting deck. I met him at a convention, and he was similar. He's like, I don't need an email list because I have all of these followers. And after talking, I think he started creating an email list. So I'll reach out and get back to you on that. So yeah, Good question. Mysterious Facebook user. So we have a few more questions, not many. I think there's 2 or 3. So I'm willing to stay on for a few more minutes to finish these up. If you have any last minute questions, throw it in there. Would you use 2 different landing pages optimized for each of 2 marketing segments, or just try and do one generic landing page? It's a really good question. That's an interesting question. I've been kind of messing with this idea. So I would always have, it depends on your brand. Like for me, outside of BackerKit, my brand is just my name. It's just Jason Furie, jasonfurie.com. So I have one landing page, and I'm creating it's public, but I'm not sharing it a ton. I have a Patreon page that's it's geared towards 10 things I want to make for you. So they're very different things. Like it's books and comic, and then there's a comic, and there's a film, and there's obviously the board game and stuff like that. So I have like there's a photo book and an art book. There's all these things I want to make, but they're probably different audiences. So I've been thinking about this myself too, is how do so I made the brand kind of be a big umbrella. Like, are you interested in what I'm working on as a creative person? Subscribe to this list. And that's kind of my catch-all for everybody, because everything I do is kind of going to be in a similar orbit. Like it's probably going to loosely be involved with like pop culture, movie, TVs, 80s, 90s, stuff like that. Even though one of them's kind of way off topic. It's like a supernatural podcast where people tell their stories. So it's pretty different, but maybe I can tie in some horror movie aspect to it or something like that. So I have a separate opt-in for Late Fee Games, which is my board game company, and then I have a separate one for like my art, for example. But they all go to the same place. But when you get people to subscribe, you can tag them, like if you're using MailChimp. So if you have something that's only specific for one person, you can send it to that segment. So you're like, hey, this is just for people interested in my weird supernatural podcast. But typically, the way I like to do things, or the way I'm trying to do things, is to have it like all for one, because I don't want to overcomplicate things. Like, especially when it comes time for Kickstarter, if they're on my email list for any reason, I'm going to still want to share the project, because they might just want to support me as a human, not just like for the product. You'll notice a lot of people on Kickstarter, backers. I'm a super backer. I love backing projects. And the one thing I look for more than anything is the story. Like, why are people making this product? Are they passionate about this product? Is this something that they're going to make whether I give them money or not? Like, is it like, how am I helping? All those things are factors that I look into. So I try and look, I'm more interested in like the about section on a Kickstarter than the front, like what is the product? Because I don't necessarily have to love your product to support you. I'll still back you if I think like, this is really cool. Like, I'm not big into theater, but I've backed some theater projects because I could see some true passion. And it's like, someone's like, this is what I want to do with my life. I love supporting people just to see their dreams come to fruition. It doesn't always have to be my interest, but I don't know, maybe I'm a weirdo. But yeah, I don't know. So to answer your question, I think you should have them all kind of going to the same place. And if you can segment them, make sure that they're tagged. So make sure that if you do need to segment them, you can do it. Because if you're just throwing them into a bucket without doing that, it might be challenging. I think if you do embed codes through MailChimp, you can, when people sign up, you can have it auto assign them a tag. Do some light research on that just to double check. I'm not 100% sure that works, but you can also have them just like, I think you can feed them through the different APIs into different segments within something like MailChimp. Like if they sign up here in this audience, if they sign up here, go to that audience. I'd say if it's wildly different, I would segment it. Like if it's a board game and a supernatural podcast, you might want to segment those. But if it's a movie podcast, a movie review, or like a movie blog, like throw them in the same thing. But yeah, worth considering. I think the goal is to just get them into your email list and then nurture them somehow and make sure it's clear what they're signing up for. Make sure it's clear that you work on multiple things if you have different segments that you want to like identify. It's all about expectation. Because yeah, if I sign up for something in like a board game about movies and I get a newsletter about it, a weird podcast, and I'm like, wait, I didn't sign up for this. What's going on? So just make it really clear wherever people are opting in that they could be getting all kinds of cool stuff. We've sent newsletters to our email subscribers to get them involved with the project. Yeah, that's great. I love it. I want to see that. Oh, this is a comment of the year. I'm going to screen grab this one. I like pizza. I'm just guessing you looked at my website for 5 seconds because there's pizza everywhere. just took a screen grab. I don't like pizza. I love it. So, stupid joke. It's really weird doing jokes to one-way live streams. Part of me feels horrible. The other part of me loves it. So I don't know what that says about me. Right, we got one last question here from Rich. All right, do you have any links, affiliations with fulfillment companies, people that have good reputation working alongside you? Let me pull up something for you. Yes, I do. Give me a moment. And, oops, if I could spell, I can get this for you. Here we go. All right, so for fulfillment, BackerKit loves to work with third-party logistics companies. We have third-party logistic companies in mind, and we love working ones that know the ins and outs of crowdfunding. So I will say, I'm gonna link you our fulfillments page, and we have a lot of companies on here, such as Shopify, ShipStation, FulfillRite, EasyShip. We recommend all of these. So I'm not gonna pick one. It's like, you know, who's your best friend, like kind of thing. Like, I don't want to be like, it's Jacob, and then all the other kids feel like horrible. So I'm not going to like name drop any one specifically over the other. I will say everybody that's on our fulfillments page is somebody that we've worked with extensively. They've worked with our customers extensively. We've make it a really smooth process. So anybody on this page that you see, Shopify, ShipStation, EasyShip, FulfillRite, Amplifier, Shipwire, Whiplash, all these equally awesome. They're all my best friends. They're all Jacob. So yeah, hope that helps. If I were you and I was looking into fulfillment companies, I would just pull from this list, do a little bit of light research, maybe get a quote or two from some of your top favorites, and then really just pick whichever one fits like your budget or fits what you're going for. If you have, sometimes I like to flex. If I have a specific challenge that I'm worried about, I'll like part of my quote process would be asking them that question to see how they can they respond to this? Can they speak my language a little bit? Like, can they help me in this way? Just be like, hey, this is something I know I'm going to want to do. So yeah, think about that. See, yeah, that's great. Do some research. Yeah, sorry, I can't this is a cheat sheet for a head start, but it'll be up to you ultimately. But I will highly recommend anybody on that page. So yeah, do a little bit of light research. Maybe get back to me and let me know if you have any good experiences with them, because yeah, we wouldn't put anyone on this page that we didn't already kind of have tons of experience with. Ads from BackerKit has the best results for the money. What ads from BackerKit have the best results for the money? So, I mean, I can't share numbers or companies or anything like that. I will say that we do really well within the tabletop category. If you are doing a tabletop board game, which I'm assuming you are, DB Games, I would say that that's it. And we don't have a ton. We don't offer the pre-live, like before you launch ads to everybody right now. That's like either a non-existent or a beta kind of thing. But we do live ads to your project. So I mean, that's really the only kind we're doing right now. Just getting conversions on based on do they go to the page, do they buy the product while it's live, and that's kind of how we're doing things. So I will say, for the money, tabletop's where it's at, but that I would not deter you. We have huge success with enamel pin projects, the hardware tech projects, and everything in between, comic projects, publishing projects. We can work with you. If it's not a good fit, or if we don't think we can get good results, we will tell you. We will straight up, if you apply and we don't accept you, it's not personal. It's just based off our knowledge and our experience. We don't want people to lose money. We don't want people to just throw money to Facebook with their fingers crossed. So something I respect about our marketing team quite a bit is their honesty. And if it's not a good fit, they're just going to tell you and just say, hey, come back to us when you've done X, Y, and Z. And in that webinar coming up in later September, we're going to kind of share an ideal profile for who is the best fit for our ad services, who would be the best candidate for it. What do you need to have accomplished before, if we were to look over your project, for us to say, yes, we want to work with this project. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I think, it gets tough with with the money stuff, it's all about the return on investment. The last thing I'll say about ads, I'm speaking more to first timers, like people that have never run a crowdfunding project before. Take time to set your expectations like now, like have a meditative like yoga moment and be like, what do I want to get out of this? Because a lot of people enter into this whole crowdfunding thing with the hope and dream of just getting their product into somebody's hands. And they'll break even, they'll even spend a little bit of their own money to make it happen. They just want to see this thing in their brain come into the world. But once people get like a semblance of success, or maybe it does way better than they thought, their priorities can shift a little bit and they start thinking more about the money and the profit margins. And you can get a little bit lost in the woods if you have that mentality. So I'm not saying don't be excited if you can put yourself in a position to get a profit margin, but also really check your expectations. Because to me, as like a novice creator, I love breaking even on ads because I'm building my community. So let me do a quick example. Let's say I spend $500, let's say $2,000 on ads, and it doesn't do that well. For every dollar I put in, I get about $1 back. Okay, so I'm breaking even. But throughout that 30-day campaign window, let's say I got 75 backers and people bought my product. Even though I broke even, every dollar I spent kind of broke even. So, it took me $35 to run these ads and I got $35 worth of stuff back. So I'm kind of like, oh, wow, was that a failure? But in my mind, it's not, because when I send my BackerKit survey later, I can ask them to join my newsletter. I can message them when I do my next project. I'm kind of getting a community member, and somebody's like joining me, and they're saying, hey, I like your ideas. I like your product. I want to be a part of this. So I'm identifying my true fans. So if my expectation going into a crowdfunding campaign is to just break even and get my product made, and then I can scale and think about profit later, fantastic. I love it. That's great, because that's how a lot of businesses start. You're never just going to be like $1 million just moneymaker the second you start something. It takes time. Sometimes there's a long road. So yeah, I think it's very interesting. Something I've been researching a lot is like about just expectation setting and sticking to it, not pivoting too hard. If you have a little bit of success, remember that just wanted to make the product, and then your second project you can make $1 billion. So keep that in mind, because that's why you got into this in the first place. You want to make something and you want to put something cool into the world. So use that as your North Star. I would even, if that's write a Post-it note. That's what I did. Just say like, get this in somebody's hand, and then just slap that on your computer so you can remind yourself like why you're doing this in the first place. But once you get one success under your belt, you can double down and learn from it and do better next time. And then you can bake in a profit margin your second time. Sounds exhausting now, but having a little bit of a long-term plan wouldn't hurt in some cases, especially with all the competition on crowdfunding. Just getting funded is an accomplishment in itself. So I would just put all eyes on just getting funded, no matter, like, not saying go in the hole, but if you break even on ads, for example, that's totally fine. I think you'll be okay. But a lot of people are disappointed in stuff like that because it's not like a big money maker. But if money is your main driver, you might be doing this for the wrong reason. I'm not sure. So yeah, keep that in mind. RM, very cool picture. I like this. This is cool art. Would you say cards, something like We're Not Really Strangers, would do well with BackerKit ads? Sure. Yeah, I think it all depends on your image assets and the way that you promote it and the way that you share it and what examples you have. The more people can see. Cards are great because you can create pretty, like, you can show people, you don't have to, like, people don't have to stretch their imagination to see what it is. Like, I know what a card is. So if I see the art that's going to go on the card, the font, the borders, stuff like that, I can kind of already see what the product's going to be like. So if you have good image assets and you have like a good story to tell and good like copy about like what you're doing and why you're doing it and like what the product is, like, sure, it can do well. But it's not my, I don't vet the projects to see if they actually get approved for marketing. But I would say that if you are equipped and you follow like all the best practices for like what you need to run ads and stuff like that, yeah, stuff like that can totally do well. Cards board games, tabletop games, RPGs, even I would say even publishing and art in general is doing really well on Kickstarter right now. A lot of publishing projects like comic projects, things visual are doing really well. Because think about it, when you're running ads, some of the biggest challenges are it's the imagery, right? So projects that are really heavy on the art aspect, you've already done like half the work. Like you already have cool card art. So you use that art and organize it in a way to make a good ad. You're kind of like you have a head start. Because like if I'm selling like say a hardware product that doesn't have a ton of art or assets around it, it might be a little bit more challenging for me because I have to kind of come up with creative ways to present my product. Like if it's just like a beer koozie or something, I got to be like, how can I like I could put this on the beach and take pictures of it, or I could go to the pool, blah blah blah. But with art, it kind of speaks for itself. It's just rad right out the gate. So you have an advantage there, something eye popping. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. But yeah, stuff in that realm typically does pretty well. Ooh, that's good advice about expectations. I'm a first timer. I'm about to launch October 1st. Feel free to link before we end the live stream if you want to throw a link in there. I'm okay with it. I'm nervous, scared, excited, unsure of how well it will go. That means you're doing everything right because it's personal. You're vulnerable. This is a passion project, and you're all of a sudden putting it out in front of the world. It's like karaoke to the world. It's like you got to get on stage and sing a song now, and there's always the jitter. But once the song starts, it usually always ends up pretty good. If it's a horrible song and you don't do a great job, it's still like a learning experience and maybe entertaining. But you know, you still want to do it again and dust yourself off. I don't know if you were here earlier in the discussion, but if you don't get funded, that's perfectly fine because it's like going to college for free. You're going to learn a lot, take a lot of notes, listen to your community, do polls, ask people for advice. I would just treat it like you're going to school, like you're going to learn about your community. You're going to learn about what it takes to get funded. And if it doesn't work the first time, that's perfectly fine. That means you can try again next time and do it even better and even stronger. So yeah, think about that. But being nervous and scared and excited is all very real. Like if you weren't any of those things, I think you'd be doing it wrong. So that's a good sign. That means that you care about it, you're passionate about it, you want it to work well. So this is you're on the right track. So I appreciate that sentiment in there. Good way to end this week's live stream. We went a little bit over, but I was happy to do so. I had a little bit of flexibility today, and I saw some really great questions in there. I want to take a minute to just say thanks to everybody that watched today, and you guys and girls and everybody asked some really awesome questions. You're all asking the right questions. One of my biggest fears from doing these live streams was just people coming in and like trolls or people just saying like, where's my product and stuff like that. Everybody's just been really like hands-on, scrappy, asking good questions. So I really appreciate all of this stuff, because we're navigating it together. We're going to figure it out together. All right. Yeah, Jason at BackerKit, you can find me there. So let me know. I'll put that up. If anybody wants to connect, you can also join our newsletter at backerkit.com/newsletter. We'll send out quizzes, alerts for new webinars and live streams, content, guides, best practices. So join the newsletter. But also feel free to reach out to me, Jason at BackerKit, here to help. I want to see everybody succeed. But yeah, I appreciate you being here and coming. So yeah, that's how you can find me for now. And at the very least, I'm going to put in one last RSVP for our upcoming webinar because I'm really excited about it because it's something that I'm not super strong with yet, and I want to learn about it. Crowdfunding, advertising, and marketing. So there's the link one last time. Todd, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for these streams. Love these streams. Super valuable. Hope you keep doing them. If only 10 people show up, it's really a concentrated group of attendees. Love it. It's true. I was telling somebody the other day, it's like, if 10 people show up, but they ask questions, we can fill an hour. Easy, easy. And if it's providing value for people, I love it and it's gratifying. So I agree with you. I think if 1,000 people showed up, it wouldn't work. So there's like a weird intimate, like, maybe like one day there might be too many people here, but for now, I've been really enjoying these. So I appreciate you attending. Tell one friend, don't tell 10 friends, and then we'll get one more person in here. But yeah, very cool. All right, well, that's it for now. If I will probably plan one for next week. You're welcome, Rich. And then probably Thursday at 2 again. And then I might be experimenting with a new platform, not new to this, called Crowdcast. I think I really like how that works. I figured out how to multi-stream on that on Facebook and YouTube as well. So I might experiment with that next week. I'm not 100% sure yet. Worst case scenario, I'll just do this again. But yeah, that's a wrap for this week. Join the new webinar, and I will catch you next time. Until then, good luck on your projects. Keep pushing forward. Keep doing what you're doing. These questions are all correct. You're all on the right track. It'll happen. It's going to happen in time. We're all just going to kind of learn and get to that point together. So keep it up. So yeah, I'm going to sign off. Peace out, everybody.